everyone, thanks for coming. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. And we told the other candidates that to come at 3, and it's 3:15, so we're going to go ahead without them. But that means that Karen won't have the time limit if we would have had more candidates. So just so you know. First off, I'm Logan Kerner. I was invited and blessed to be here and be able to announce for today, so that's super exciting. And the Great Debate is an opportunity for New Mexicans to ask their questions to the candidates for the governor's spot. And the series of events was created by the people of New Mexico. So it's not the media, it's not state-run or anything. We had David Dominguez is the general manager for 101.7 ESPN radio station and is a long-term Republican. And then Sandra, I'm gonna mispronounce her name, Casas is a retired New Mexico state employee for the Metro Court system and is a long-term Democrat. And then also Faith Gallardo is a real estate professional in the apartment industry overseeing properties in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. She's a libertarian. So they all got together and created this event to be impartial and fair and people run for concerned citizens of New Mexico. So the diversity of these 3 people brought this event to life, and so yeah, we're glad you're here. And they wanted to include Standing Tall United for Freedom, or STUF, so that's why I had the opportunity to run this today. We also, STUF also ran some interviews earlier this year before the primary election, and we interviewed some judge candidates and gubernatorial candidates as well, and lots of others, so you can go check those out on Rumble. Each candidate's crew is welcome to broadcast or live stream the event in the designated area. And here are the rules. The pledge, so in case you don't know what this is, the questions are asked by individual people like you, and so they would pledge $1,000 and then get to ask their question of the candidates, and whoever they feel, the pledger, feels gave the best answer receives $1,000 toward their campaign. And if they're not here, if the other candidates are not here, it's automatically forfeit to who is here, and that is the voter's choice, the person who is submitting the question. Each candidate will be allowed a closing statement, and yeah, that's basically it for the rules. We wanted to thank all the volunteers here today, and Mr. Efren is doing the video for us, so thank you to him. And without further ado, we will get started on the first question. So, yes. New Mexico is 50th in education. Government controls $1.93 billion budget for 71,000 students, which is a whopping $27,000 per student. Unscientific mandates have taken a toll. CRT is controversial. So please discuss what emergency plans you would implement, how would you address CRT ideology, the budget, and lastly, and most importantly, describe what actions have you taken before and as a candidate. So,
do I stand over there? Or?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Oh yeah, my name is Karen Madoni. So the first question is education related. We've been really researching in depth to remedy the situation. It's not a one-size-fits-all blanket answer, and that's what they've been doing to us through PED, and PED is not helping us in any way, shape, or form, and having a director that's never here also does not help us and help our children. So we can look at this from different avenues. For the first thing, emergency you're talking about, is we uncovered, my team, we went into the deep, dark parts of why kids aren't testing very well and why they're doing so poorly in school. And I hate to admit it, but it's the drug aspect is now creeped into our schools. You go to school to get high. And we figured this out through profiles and watching and asking students across New Mexico what they see and how do they know that drugs are in their school. And that was one of the big reasons I pull my kids out of school, is when they start to hit the junior high age, the older ones, we start to see a lot of marijuana coming through, and it was really difficult for them to not be targeted as individuals that are too good, or they think they're better than us, and so they start bullying them and doing different sorts of things to them. What we did is we went into their Facebook profiles. I know a lot of that generation right now doesn't really function on Facebook like a lot of us do, but they function on Telegram, Instagram, Snapchat, and then also most recently Telegram. What they're doing is these little emojis that they're using. One is a cart, like a shopping cart, and that means they're going to sell. That means they're dealers. They have stuff for you to pick up from them. There's another emoji that has a plug, like the plug into the wall. That's the actual dealer itself. And they don't put anything on their profiles. They don't communicate. They don't post anything. It's all blank, and it's just a random picture. But you find out exactly who it is from word of mouth. And so you can see different things like trees, mushrooms, of course, those self-explanatory what those are. And then from there, you use this code and you figure out who they are, and you go to their Snapchat. Then from there, they give you another code. It's usually just numbers, and that's how they go into Telegram. And on Telegram, since it's coded and secured, because that's a lot of us patriots were using that to have our free speech, on that same platform is probably one of the biggest drug trades we've ever seen in this country happening. You put those codes in because they're not real pages with an actual title on it. It's just their own page. And then you put those numbers in, and up pops the menu to tell you exactly what they have that day. And they've also taken it into a point where they're door dashing it, so they can meet you at a certain location, because now we have technology and phones in our pockets, so we can tell you exactly where we are and what time we are going to be there and who's moving what. And so you're seeing this happen, and all of it, if not, goes directly to the schools. That's what we are battling in McKinley County, is a high influx of drugs. It's huge, from meth to fentanyl, you name it, and they're not testing very well. So they go there to get high, and then they don't really listen in school, and then they come home, and they should be off of it by then, and they go home and they function. This is the first thing that we see is emergencies. We have to actually get in there and stop the drugs. So we went further in our studies, and I tracked, and we looked for ways to help students not get pressured into it, but also to a point where it makes it responsible parenting. You need to know where your children are and what they're doing. And you think you send them to school to be safe. So what we're going to do, the emergency part of it, is we found a lady in Texas. She owns a company that actually will scan your body using frequency, and they can tell what kind of drug your student is on according to the frequency, and they can scan them pretty fast if they come into their school system. With that kind of money that we have, billions of dollars, I think we can install a scanning device inside the schools where you can actually scan them as they're entering the school system. And if they're high during the day, you can also find that frequency pretty fast if they're acting abnormal. This is something that was amazing because they're also trying to impact the horse racing industry here in New Mexico. We have lost our horse racing, the capitalism, that part of it, because of the drugs. They're doping horses to win. And so when you go to Ruidoso, and a lot of the politicians are down there inside the horse races, a lot of it is about drugs as well. So they're doping horses to win millions of dollars, especially the high stakes races. So the same frequency model can scan horses as well, but it's already FDA approved, even though I think we should completely wipe out FDA, but to go through all the hoops to make it safe for human use, it's already been proven. So, and they're helping with patients that have cancer and other such things wrong with them. They can scan them and help with the frequencies. Because if you start studying frequency and how the history of how frequency can heal you, and how they also outlawed 432 frequency, where all music has to be above that, so it can actually distort your human peace. And that's what they were doing. So when you can try to put that frequency back to where it's supposed to be, because we did this research as well, because within our tribal languages, when we sing and we have words and drums and whatever it is, it's very uplifting and very holy. Even when you're singing a hymn in church, those automatically hit 432 frequency. That's why it feels so good, and it feels good to sing in church and to rejoice in the Lord. So when you understand that, you can begin to impact the popularity part of society and try to bring it back to the natural understanding of who we are and our bodies to become absolutely healthy. The next thing we need to do is think about the funding sources. I've talked with an amazing, amazing woman here, and she has a plan, and that's what I said, is when I set out across New Mexico, that I wasn't going to have all the answers myself, but I was going to go out and find someone that had these answers, someone that has all the education, and they can justify economics, and that all we have to do is do a tax credit. And it's what it's going to do. It's going to push money directly into the parents' hands so they can decide where that money is going to go. Either it's going to go as a credit to public school, or it's going to go to homeschool, private school. They have different hybrid schools that they can come up with. I really think school choice is huge, but just saying school choice and not having a plan really means nothing. You have to literally be out there and ready to impact the budget. So when we put the power back into the parents, guess what? You get the power. So the school board does not have power over you, and neither does how PED operated when they came down and they completely, went through the schools and you had no control as parents. This money will tell you that you are empowered. So when you start withdrawing your kids from school because they're not getting it done, then you empower the parent back again. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm going further into this concept, and I was reading it today, and it's a really brilliant plan. I really like the solutions. When I thought about it, as a homeschool mom, we funded the whole thing ourselves, trying to hide from the government, because we felt that we needed to make sure that our children were educated the best way we thought possible. So the school system, I think school choice is big, but all the public schools need to be held accountable. And we need to put the power back into the families and to the parents themselves, because they have to be the CEOs over the education of their child, and they have to be made responsible, absolutely responsible, for that child's education. And then the testing systems, I think we need to flip it. I really think it's backwards, because kids test out of class, out of school. When you get tired of a kid that won't do what he needs to do, you kind of just push him through to the next grade to get rid of him, or they age out. My thing is, I think we should test into school. If you're ready to go to school, it's a privilege and not a right, is what I believe, even though the system tells us that it's a right. And what we need to do is test into each class, each level, or in a series of tests, so that you know that you're ready to move forward into the next part of our education system. So this is what I'm looking at, and we're still working on it. It's a work in progress. We've been peeling apart like a big onion, and it's festering with a lot of problems. But I really think that if I give the power to the parents right away in an emergency fashion, I think they will make the right decision for their children if they love them. Now, I also believe that public school is a part of the requirement for poverty, because not many parents, they can actually afford to not work and take care of their children at home. So they send their kids to school because they have to work. So public school becomes a necessity. But if you had 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, and you are underneath the poverty line because your family is too big, and if you get that tax credit, let's say $8,000, then you're looking at a $65,000 boost into your household income, depending that you can stay home and you can literally educate your own children the way you see fit. So now we don't have to have the restrictive, mandated two-parent income system that they kind of push into our brains. No, it's okay to stay home with your children. It's okay to, have a career later on, or take a break and then raise your children, right? It's up to you. So we're going to give you options, not just school choice, but also options on how you want your child to be raised and how you want them to be educated. And I want to put that power back in your hands to let you know that I care about these kids. And the kids that are left out in the wind, those are the ones we're going to have to work double time and double hard to help sustain them and make sure that we bring peace to their lives, and also help them heal for whatever situation they're in. But I'm thinking about everybody, from the orphans to the homeless, all in the education spectrum, all the way to the ones that are pretty wealthy, but they also don't have control of their children's education. So we need to make sure that we empower each demographic out there in New Mexico.
All right, I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. And I forgot to introduce her. This is Karen Bedoni. She's running for governor. So, here's the next question. 59% of voters are concerned about election integrity. 37% of Democrats, 64% of independents, and 76% of Republicans. Ronchetti believes in photo ID and poll watching to prevent fraud and opposes ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots without request. What about certification of voting system, voter rolls, drop boxes, the ERIC system, forensic audits, and county commissioner threat?
I like how they always like to spend money for all their solutions. One of the poorest countries that has the best voting system uses a thumbprint. And that ink stays, you dip your finger in ink when they actually vote, and you know they already went through the line. You also should check your ID to make sure they are the person, and their fingerprint should match their ID. And that should be it, because all of our fingerprints are exactly individualized, the way God made it to be. As far as the stress about the machines, yes, Dominion is still out there. We didn't do enough. I couldn't do it all myself. I'm one person, also a candidate. And if I began to push harder and harder, it became a conflict of interest because I just wanted to win. It was up to the people, and I put it in their hands, and also the commissioners. Every commissioner had the power to ask for an audit and also to put one through with their clerks. The data was there through the Clemences. They did the work. Now it was us to find a solution, and we didn't. So the vending machine is still there. But from what I've been reading and looking at, even the data from all across the United States and working with Arizona, and talking with different people who were heavily into these election, the court systems and what they were presenting as evidence, it shows that it's mostly a two-party algorithm. That's what we saw. They say that the libertarians are involved, but then you can't even see it because we never had enough for them to care about us. So as libertarians, because I'm a registered libertarian now, so I had to actually step back and look at their numbers and see what it really did. The algorithm doesn't seem to bother the libertarians is what I'm looking at. The algorithm only transferred from the Republicans to the Democrats, and also voter registration. So we have to get the voter roll straightened out first of all, and I think that everyone should register to vote the year of the election, and you should actually send in, this is my address, and I'm going to vote this year, and not just a slew of voting coming through, because not everyone votes every cycle. And a lot of people don't care about voting, not until they understand what the politics is really doing to their lives. But I think annual registration should be very simple. Go in and get it done, and then you're ready to go for that year. Then we know who we're dealing with and who we're looking at. Now, with the algorithm, I honestly think that the people that program these machines, they're not even in the country. You can't see them. They can't even certify these machines. They won't touch them because they're scared, because everybody's watching. The second thing is the libertarians, now that we finally have a candidate that's strong enough to win the governor's seat in New Mexico, now they're in a panic. They can't do anything about the algorithm that's already set in place because these machines are under lock and key and everybody's watching. They can't reprogram it, they can't pull chips, and they can't move motherboards. So what's happening now is you're watching them attack me from every angle. They're trying to take me down to the court systems. They're going to, launch complaints against me. They're going to say that she's not a viable candidate. She can't be there. So the propaganda started because we are over the target. We are hovering right over the target, and we're going to completely smash them. You know why? Because the algorithm does not really pertain to us. I believe this with all my heart. That's why I stay in this race, and I keep moving forward. I keep trying as hard as I can every day. I think that the voter integrity needs to happen. And what I've said from the beginning of my race, the reason why I'm getting into the top race, because they say, why Governor Karen? Why can't you just run for House or Senate and get your feet wet? Because when you go through the House, you get dirty. They will buy and sell and trade, and sometimes even their souls to get things done. I'm going to go absolutely clean. Knowing this top seat, it's a big race. So whatever the outcome is, I still want an audit, even if I win. I need to know that I won fair and square. If I lose, I still need to know that I lost fair and square. New Mexico was not ready for someone like me. I need to know, are we far enough gone? I need to know if we had hope ever. I need to know if we've lost New Mexico 100% entirely. So I want an audit no matter what. And I'm trying to save my money because we are trying to get lawyers and attorneys. Because as a candidate, I have a right to know about this election and my numbers. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they did behind closed doors. As a candidate, you can hold that door open. and I will let the rush happen. That's when the forensic audit should happen in New Mexico, because I'm a strong enough candidate to not concede 45 minutes after a big race. I'm a candidate to say, no, we're gonna calm down, I'm gonna hold that door open, and everyone that was, screaming, saying we need to do this, then I expect them to be there at that door waiting to go in to do this audit. We're gonna need people on the ground to do it. We're gonna need commissioners to do it. And after that, you will see who was really invested in our elections, who's gonna avoid this whole process, who's gonna be too scared to touch it. That's when you'll see. That's when New Mexico should be awakened fully. And that's my answer, I guess, for voter elections. But we tried, we worked really hard, but no one really did anything. So it's gonna be up to this election and this race to get it done.
To find some more questions. Hang on. Oil and gas is an important industry in New Mexico that is threatened by environmental challenges and climate change advocates who press for government to subsidize alternative energy sources. Please address the future of the oil and gas industry in New Mexico. Will it continue to be the major source of energy, or will it be reduced or replaced by solar and wind?
As a candidate for governor, I did my research and I found one document that you can use on the federal level. It costs $50 to get it done, to issue it, and it stops any environmentalist group from impacting our economy, our state, our livelihoods. That's the first thing we do, is we restrict these environmentalists that are from out of state, stopping us from what we do. This oil and gas is our livelihood, it's who we are. We have the worst highways in New Mexico, so yeah, you're gonna see a big oil and gas boom when I become governor. My son, he works in the automotive industry, high tech. We're talking Teslas, BMWs, Volkswagens. He's up there and he's operating and reprogramming all these beautiful cars. And so I called him, I said, hey kid, tell me about these electric cars. And I said, is there petroleum in them? I said, because all the bottom is encased. He goes, they do that on purpose so you can't buy parts anymore and you have to take it to the dealer and they're gonna completely rip through you because they wanna make the money. That's what it is. These congressional people bought and invested into these electric cars, now they need to get their return back. He says, so they encased the whole bottom. I said, what's in there? Gears? He says, yes. Is there lubrication? Yes. Is it petroleum based? Yes. Is there brake fluid? Yes. Is that petroleum based? Absolutely. So he told me those things run on absolute petroleum, even though they plug them into the wall. And the reason why they blow up and catch on fire and they tell you don't store it in your garage is because it's very dangerous when you put electricity and you mix it with oil and gas and absolute combustible material. So yes, oil and gas will boom here in New Mexico. I want our roads to widen because they're so dangerous right now. We need, everything is built on oil and gas. If I removed everything from this room, the oil and gas didn't bring here on a truck or wasn't produced, we'd be sitting here and absolutely naked on the ground. And that's the truth of it. We have shipped everything in on tires and rubber and oil, and we use petroleum inside plastics, every kind of plastic, even your underwear that's holding you together. It's all petroleum based. And to know this and for them to try to sell us a petroleum carbon-free environment is ridiculous, because you know that we are carbon beings, and that's when they should start. But I do challenge, MLG and Ronchetti with their Green New Deal stuff, to go and sleep in your garage with your electric vehicle running all night. And I'd rather sleep with a cow in my garage all night, and we'll see who walks out the next morning. And that's what I have to say about that.
What is the role of government, and specifically, what is the role of the executive? Why are you the best choice to fill that role?
The role of the executive on paper inside the Constitution is to actually put things into law after the legislation. It goes through the processes, and they give it to me, and I look at it, and it says, yes, this will work for the people, and then we sign it into law. And that's basically it, was to help, move laws through our communities so that we could find peace. But the role of government was supposed to be minimal. It was supposed to be just to help us when big things happen, like an invasion from another country, when big things were going on where we needed help. We needed to look up to somebody. We needed someone to stop the masses from rioting, to calm everyone down and to find a peaceful route through, life. And what I'm seeing right now is that's not what's happening. They've taken government and they've inserted it into every part of our lives, even right into our bodies through injections. This is horrible. This is not the role of government. The role of government should be limited. We should just be able to make sure that the stoplights change color, that the roads don't crumble. Very simple, but you know what? It's very simple, and the people just need to keep functioning. We're supposed to be in the background, making sure things are running well. We're not supposed to be in the foreground, making decisions for you, making decisions for your children, and injecting ourselves into your bodies. And so that's probably the simplest answer I could give you, but the role of government is now morphed into something that's so big that we can't even control it, and now we're fighting for our lives. That's why this election is so important, and I have to win this thing to make sure that they do not come even further into your lives, because from Indian country, we will tell you, once it goes completely socialistic and communistic, you will own nothing, you will have nothing, and you will suffer because poverty will creep in, and they're going to tell you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's not right. You go to an Indian reservation, we own nothing. We live on leases. We don't own our homes. We don't own the land. We can't even tap the water table because we might contaminate it, they tell us. We can't even collect the rain and water our gardens with it. We can't do anything like that without them. They come out and they count the buildings. They say you have one too many sheds. You need to take it down. So there's things like this that's just too much and too crazy. So my job and my dream is to drive government where it needs to be, nice and quiet in the background, where you are functioning in a peaceful society. However, you have the right and the freedom and the liberty to chase your happiness. And that's my answer.
All right, for the next question, school, it says the subject is school mandates and CRT. Oh wait, that's the one I already did, sorry. Here's another oil and gas one. Record-breaking 1.7 billion oil and gas revenue for the first quarter of 2022 was reported. It's not a recurring income, it goes to coffers. Ronchetti wants to move regulatory roadblock to oil and gas development, yet on March 21st, 2019, he stated we have to replace funding by oil and gas. Please elaborate economy-wise and role in New Mexico.
Well, in New Mexico, oil and gas is one of the biggest revenue that we have, and I think that we need to have some respect for them, and we need to also be able to help them. And I guess it kind of morphs into what I already talked about. But oil and gas can actually save our state from the beginning, from the very beginning, quickly, because we are all starved for oil and gas. We don't have enough, our vehicles are breaking down, everything's happening, and my mind just keeps exploding here. And the restriction of oil and gas, we just don't have enough of anything anymore. We're not shipping anything, we're not doing anything, there's no work, oil field workers are out of work. I mean, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and we need to reignite it, and we need to bring this back to our economy, and also not just oil and gas, but you're looking at coal, you're looking at, all the minerals in the earth. And people say that they don't want mineral extraction, but that is what God has given New Mexico. And as I talk about the fear that they've driven in, that we need to get rid of oil and gas and we need to decimate the economy, but then they want to replace it with renewables, what they call, I guess, I can't even talk right now. The wind turbines and the solar panels are not ready for us to pull that much power from. They are glitching right now, they're freezing. Those wind turbines are carrying gallons and gallons of petroleum just to lube them up, to have them spin, and they're catching on fire out there. And in the wintertime, you have to de-ice them again with petroleum-based products. And so we aren't ready even to morph into an energy changing. They're trying to stop something abruptly and then shift us to a different type of energy that's not ready for us. We pull too much energy. Every one of us has devices on us, and we're pulling power daily on a daily basis. And we can't keep continually doing that, because it's just not sustainable. And so even the electric car, they're plugging them into diesel generators because they're not making it from point A to point B because New Mexico is so vast and our roads are so wide that there's no charging stations anywhere. So they're bringing generators to help these Teslas get off the road, and they're stuck. So it doesn't make any sense. So what they're selling us is a package that doesn't work. It's like a made in China toy. It's missing parts. And it only works for maybe the first 2 days, and after that it's done. We need petroleum, we need our trucks, we need our diesel, and we need to move the economy because we have big agriculture that also takes weight, and we have to move cattle, and it's amazing stuff. And I think petroleum is at the heart of that. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that petroleum, without it, we're dead in the water, and it doesn't even help to I guess, contribute to our economy, to our education system, and she's completely decimated that, and we're feeling it because we are the poorest state in the union.
That's all the questions I have for right now. But if we can get some more.
There's another one.
We have one that goes maybe more in depth on education, so we'll go with that one for now. New Mexico is last in the nation in K through 12 education. Many states have implemented school choice through various mechanisms. What is your position on school choice, and how do you plan to implement it? You kind of already answered that, but there's not. But there is one. With the overturning of Roe v. Wade, New Mexico is poised to receive more abortion doctors and more people seeking abortions. When does life begin, and is it acceptable for New Mexico to be the first and best place in the nation to seek an abortion? What policy will you advocate as governor following the Roe versus Wade overturn?
Right, we're very excited that Roe versus Wade was overturned, but for New Mexico, it won't do anything for us because our legislature's already headed off at the pass the last time that they went to into session. And we have full abortions here in New Mexico all the way up to birth, and they'll throw a baby in a sink and kill it and then piece it out. And it's very heartbreaking to know that this is the state that we come from, and this is what we are now, as a murder capital of the union, and it's terrible. But what we aren't talking about is we have candidates. Well, you got MLG, who wants you to have the choice to kill your child. But I come from a pro-life tribe where that's even not acceptable. We've never aborted, our tribe never aborted our ancestors at all. We always had our children no matter what. We always, no matter the circumstances, no matter what happened, it was for us, and our cognitive understanding is that God gave us a challenge in our life, even though it might have been horrific, for you to get through it and also to find love at the end of the road is basically the meaning of life. It's what happens when you don't love the sin, but you love the child. And so even when you talk about the real heinous acts that he was, Ron Ketty was trying to put that into the whole situation, but then there's also medical parts of it that the government shouldn't be a part of, and so people will do what they're going to do. That's why you have to believe that they're going to make the right choice. But for taxpayer dollars and the purposes of a government functioning system, as a governor, I don't believe that we need to be funding and actually supporting abortions at all. Life begins at conception. I've always believed that. But we've always known that when you're going through legislation, you cannot legislate morals either, because it gets really messy, and then you start to see the pushback and also the impeding of freedoms and liberties. So I'm a pro-life candidate, and for me, I can't go through the legislation. If you give me a blue House and a blue Senate, we're screwed again. I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. But what I can do is I can actually use policy. I can fight it. I can fight through education to educate these young ladies that might have become pregnant. and they're not ready for it, because a lot of them will say, you know what, no one ever told me that there was a different way. I was just very scared. That's the usual thing that they're talking about, is that's why they had an abortion, because no one was there to help them. And I did talk to a young lady. She did have up to 10 abortions. Now she's my age. And she regretted every one of them. And it's because it's how she was told it's okay to do it, to hide it, so that you can continue to be respectable and keep moving forward. So she had a hard time with it too. So abortion, most abortions up to, I think it was 93.6% is what we're looking at, that most abortions happen at 13 weeks or, before. So at 15 weeks, you're already in deep, deep murder country. And so at 6%, there's no way you could be a pro-life candidate. So at being a 15-week candidate saying pro-life, that's wrong, because you can't claim 6% and still say, oh yeah, I'm pro-life, because you just lost 93% of all these babies already. So we have to be able to fight the entire war all the way back. And I think it has to start with the mother. I think we have to educate them. So in PED, you can push the education as far as you can. I want 72 hours. Right to Life says 48 hours. I want more. I want more education. You have to send them through it. If they want to get abortion here, then they have to go through these steps. They have to watch videos. They have to watch them perform it. They have to watch them piece out that child. They have to literally watch the goriness. They can't just close their eyes and go through it. They have to know. And then from there, once they understand and comprehend it, and they still want to do it, when they enter these places like Planned Parenthood and other, like UNM, even the greeter at the door, we can also push the training requirements as well as the education requirements. So I want an actual doctor to greet every patient. I want every doctor on the ground. There's no more hiring cheap staff and cheap people just to run them through because we're going to make money. No, you're going to hire best of the best, where your budget, your administrative budget, is going to go mostly to salaries, and you can't even make a lucrative penny here. It's going to be very hard to function in an abortion clinic in Bedoni's state, because we're going to drive so many requirements that it's not even worth being here, because we won't even let you open the doors. And we'll put in crazy things in there too. Like the carpet has to be cream because it calms them down. Whatever. So you're going to make them change everything just to function in a place called Bedoni's, New Mexico. And I will save 98% of these babies that want to go to war for the last 2% in legislation. I think that we can do this through simple policy changes, just tweaks that we have control over as governor inside the executive branch. It's real simple. I don't see it as fighting inside the legislatures. You already made your beds. But I will ask that these laws be relabeled. Every time you say the word abortion, I want you to write the word murder in it. And that will be my request. So when you submit it, then we'll start to see it. We're going to murder these children at 15 weeks. We're going to allocate money to murder these babies. And we'll deny it, because murder is against who we are as people. So the whole pro-life thing is going to be very exciting for me, because we're going to be one of the most pro-life state with the worst laws ever, because you had a woman who could outthink them and outmaneuver. And so we're here to play chess, and we're going to play hard, and we're going to win. But I have an absolute plan to it, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And that's what is exciting, is because they always want to know, what is she going to do? Because we have plans, and they're stacking up. We have binders and binders full of research and study. We know how to do this. We know exactly what's going to happen to those babies. Even the deep, dark stuff that nobody wants to talk about, we're going to put that into education. How they actually make medicines from it, how they make, what do you call it, when you're addictive controlled substances, because cannibalism shows that there's actual addictive qualities to it. So then they're putting it into additives, into different foods, and those types of foods I want to outlaw as well, because you know what, if we need to consume those cheeseburgers and it has that additive in it from murdered babies, I think we should know the truth before we start giving them to our children. And we've researched, and we've gone deep down, and it's scary. It's scary what they've done to our children, how they market it. Now it becomes a product. That's what leads me into the actual corporation of the United States of America. When you think about it, well, what's the product? It's human beings. We are the product and services of the United States Incorporated. Once we understand that, then you can begin to fight back, because I am nobody's product. I am no slave. I belong, and I am beholden to no one except God. So that's why I'm here. Now, when we start talking about misconceptions, the media and the way people write things, they will never be able to speak the words the way I speak them. Always through hearsay. Every time it jumps through the second, third, or fourth person, it comes out wrong on the other end. I implore you to go to my videos and ask me directly. We will tell you the truth. Find me. And if you don't find me, then you don't really care enough, because you know what? We have the answers and we know exactly where we're standing. But I am a pro-life candidate 100% because I come from a pro-life tribe, and I have had every child that I was pregnant with. And I love each and every one of them, and I believe that they had a chance at life. Just like my mother gave me a chance at life. And it's funny how everyone that has a voice against children that want to abort happen to be born. So I look at them and I say, if you want abortion, I can't hear you. Because if that choice was given to your body and your existence, then I should walk right through you. Because your voice doesn't matter now. So you think about it, you were allowed to be born, so should I listen to you? Then you should listen to those babies that are still coming forward. We all talk about the heartbeat bill, and that gets mixed up. That was before Roe versus Wade, when that was sitting right in the middle of everything. We couldn't get past it. Where Norma McCorvey lied about her situation, and she never had an abortion, by the way. When we were talking about that, that's when my research began. If we can actually take the heartbeat into a court of law, which they had in other states, and you could hear the heart valves, that became the First Amendment of that child, and they deemed that child alive. Now in science and technology today, I'm sure we can hear a cell divide now. If I can take that concept and move it all the way to the beginning of when an egg and a sperm actually start dividing into cells, and we can hear it, that will constitute the First Amendment right of that child. And that's what I'm looking at. Because if they can say there's life on Mars looking at a piece of slime, then I think we could start saving our population and humankind. Thank you.
I believe that is all the questions we have. So thank you so much for being here and for answering all the questions and for coming. And thank you all for coming and watching. We'll be going to, I believe, 19 more cities throughout the state this month. So tell your friends to go and watch them. Hopefully we can get the other candidates to come to some as well and get a real debate, because that'll be fun. Yes. So thank you guys.
Hello, my name is Mona Kerner, and I am a lifelong Republican. I started to get concerned about our state 2 years ago, when many of you probably did. And I got involved, and I went to some Republican events, and I became a precinct chair, and I wanted to make a difference in our state. And in the primary, I lost. I'm here at the Great Debate, and in the primary, my candidate lost. So I'm here to see who the nominee is for governor and what he has to say. Unfortunately, he's not here. And so I did not get to hear my candidate, and I'm not sure that the Republican Party is still the party that's going to fix the state or be my party in the future. And so I just want to, first of all, ask Republicans, who is representing us and what does he say about the future of our state? Thank you.